Hello and welcome to another SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So, in this episode, I'll be discussing the 2009 epic disaster movie 2012, as directed by Ronald Emmerich and based on the now basically since debunked prophecy that the world would end in 2012, based on kind of the law stemming from the Mayan calendar. So, now, I do actually remember going to see this film at the cinema when it was first released. And I can tell you that it did actually pack a bit more of a punch back in 2009, kind of with the prospect that it could actually be foretelling events yet to come. I mean, okay, so as a rational scientist, I was sure that its basis was kind of science fiction, but that didn't stop me from feeling at least a little apprehensive about what could be coming. Now, of course, it most certainly is a fantasy movie. Of course, I'm not saying that events as catastrophic as this couldn't indeed happen in the future. Just because 2012 has been and gone doesn't mean that the threat has actually disappeared. But without a definitive date to work with the events in the movie, they seem more palatable and related and relegated to the realm of fantasy. At least that's the way I would like to keep them, for the time being at least. So, usually, films kind of are about the thing that have happened, or things that are most definitely flights of fantasy. But the fact that this film was based on something that might actually happen, something that might actually be coming our way, you couldn't help but feel that perhaps it was like taunting fate. Hey, it still didn't stop me from going to go see it, though. So, I mean, as with a number of disaster movies, we have kind of a number of threads within the film, which kind of tell the story from different perspectives. The main difference with this film and kind of some of the other disaster films I've watched with this kind of similar vein, the likes of 1998's Armageddon, Deep Impact, and 2003's The Core kind of spring to mind, is that the only hope in the movie is to kind of save what can be saved, in whatever little time that we have. The disaster itself cannot be stopped. It's going to happen, and no amount of research, science, and instrumentation is going to change that. A very scary thought. The first thread is that of scientist Adrian Hemsley, as played by, and I really do apologise if I'm saying this completely wrong, Chiwetel Ejiofor, who first puts two and two together, and raises the alarm in the US with regards to the impending disaster due to the alignment of the planets. He just gets his timeline wrong, and events kind of happen much faster than originally calculated. The film does start off kind of very political in nature, kind of examining the world's response to such a crisis, and of course the actions of our world leaders. Needless to say, that they choose to cover the whole thing up, right up until the very last kind of minute. The second thread kind of sees us introduced to Jackson Curtis, as played... you're going to kill me now, I can't remember his name. It'll come to me a bit. But basically a struggling author who we then follow as he narrowly avoids one disaster after another as he tries to keep his family alive. In fact, they have more lucky and near-death escapes than Jack Bauer does in basically a single episode of 24. But ultimately, this film is about the destructive power of the cosmos and on our planet and how utterly helpless we are against such forces. The world leaders, they coordinate and conspire to build a series of kind of mega ships, or arcs as they're known. John Cusack is the guy. I knew it would come to me. To save their best and brightest, and of course, who can kind of pay the highest, in order to ensure that humanity can continue. The movie is, for me, almost kind of split into two halves. The first is the disaster itself, the destruction of Earth as we know it, which is epically impressive to say the least. Once that action starts, but please note, it does take a little while to actually get going, but once it starts, it doesn't let up. from earthquakes the like we have never seen before, to supervolcanoes and tsunamis that kind of dwarf some of the world's biggest cities. The special effects here are simply amazing and out of this world. And I mean, it's in scale and ambition. You know, it is the usual Emmerich destructive mayhem at that point. The second half, as exciting and as nail-biting as it is, it basically takes its from the playbook of the Poseidon Adventure, either the 1972 original or the 2006 remake. It's all the same. I haven't seen the TV special, though, from 2005, so I can't comment on that. But anyway, for a while, at this point, you do almost forget that the world is kind of ending, as the movie turns into a different kind of disaster spectacle at that point. The movie does try to be emotional and kind of get us involved in the plight of the people on screen, which I can't lie, I think it does in parts, but there's just that much going on that you never really have time to kind of connect to any one particular character, bar perhaps the struggle of John Cusack's character and that of his family. It's the closest I think you're gonna get. The whole world goes to hell in a handbasket. Billions are dead, but we're on the edge of our seat for the plight of one singular family. In this respect, it kind of does brush away the plight of the billions for a pretty formulaic affair in the end. It doesn't quite capture the heart or emotion, nowhere near as much as the likes of Armageddon, or to be fair, even Emmerich's own work, such as Independence Day or the Day After Tomorrow. But being directed by Ronald Emmerich, it carries his kind of trademark big, bold and brass style. You know, lots of explosions, destruction of cities and national treasures, and yes, the White House gets it again. And, you know, and of course, it has the obligatory pooch in peril moment. What it lacks in emotion, for me, it makes up in absolute bounds in big budget style finesse. You know, so I mean, okay, so most of the close-up action with the characters, it's quite unbelievable at times. It can be a bit far-fetched, even for a film such as this. Mostly for me, they seem to be able to kind of travel great distances on foot, climb huge sets of stairs, which personally I would probably take me the best part of a day to accomplish. Yet kind of these characters, they do it all in a matter of seconds. John Cusack's character, he's especially prone to such instances and kind of always seems to just make it before the whole ground collapses beneath him. On more than one occasion, may I add. You know, whilst everybody else on the planet seems utterly incapable of such feats. And he's just a writer. But, you know, I never actually went in seeing this film thinking it was going to be, I was going to be like dazzled with a deep story and heartfelt emotion. And that most of the action, you know, I knew was going to be in your face, over the top. I knew exactly what I was expecting, and I got just exactly that. An extravagant spectacle in special effects, loud action, and lots and lots and lots of explosions, catastrophes, beyond anything imaginable. And I wasn't disappointed. You know, here's hoping, however, that we never, ever have to face something like that. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Thank you very much for watching. If you have liked this review, please do leave a like on the video. Please, of course, do think about subscribing to my channel. But overall, please do come back to SciFirst MovieTalk for more movie reviews, movie trailer reactions, other movie related things such as movie games and things like that. But thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.